The Ozarks hold perhaps 10,000 caves or more. No one has ever counted them all. This plateau stretches from southern Missouri down through northern Arkansas, covering roughly 100,000 square miles of limestone laid down 350 million years ago, rock that dissolves a little more each time water moves through it. Every storm etches out new passages. When trees topple, they sometimes expose holes that exhale chilled air. Farmers have been known to drop straight into caverns in the middle of their own pastures. In 1925, a trapper by the name of Arthur Browning felt cold air streaming from a limestone outcrop on his family's property in southwest Missouri. Behind that rock lay a cave filled with artifacts left by people who had dwelt there thousands of years before any recorded tribe in the region. Browning opened it to tourists in 1927, but that was a cave he was permitted to discover. 1909, according to oral accounts handed down through 3 families in Stone County, Arkansas, a farmer named Hollis was grazing cattle when his bull stepped into a ground crack and broke through. Hollis widened the gap, tied a rope around himself, kerosene lamp, and lowered down. He stayed below for about an hour. When he reemerged, his wife later recalled, he was pale as chalk and refused to speak until dawn. He never told her what he had witnessed. He told only one person, his brother, and that brother passed it to his children, and so the tale traveled through 3 generations before anyone committed it to paper. 2 weeks afterward, 4 men in military dress arrived at the Hollis farm. They offered no names, they showed no credentials. They spent 6 hours inside the cave. Upon exiting, they poured concrete over the entry. They informed Hollis that the cave was hazardous and that he should not attempt to unseal it. Hollis died in 1931. His son tried to break through the concrete in 1947, was reinforced with steel. This is an inquiry into what Ozark farmers discovered in caves that were closed after they were entered. Why military personnel appeared on isolated farms in the early 1900s. And what Hollis confided to his brother the night he came up from underground white as chalk. The Ozark Plateau ranks as one of North America's most geologically active karst regions. Its limestone bedrock was deposited when a shallow sea covered the continent's interior over 300 million years ago. When the sea withdrew, the limestone remained exposed and rainwater resumed its ancient work on the rock. It dissolved it. Over eons, water carved a subterranean labyrinth that remains only partially charted. Missouri alone boasts over 7,000 catalogued caves, more than any other state. Arkansas adds thousands more. The true total is unknown because new caves are found every year, often accidentally, usually by farmers, hunters, or construction crews who pierce a surface layer and discover emptiness below. These caves range from single chambers to multi-mile networks with underground streams, waterfalls, and passages that cross county lines. Some are dry, some are submerged, some breathe, exiling cold air in summer and drawing in warm air in winter, signaling deeper connections to larger systems far below. The Ozarks sit atop all this. Small towns, cattle operations, churches, county roads, all built on a rocky crust riddled with voids. Generations of locals have understood this. They know the ground isn't solid. They know every field harbors a fissure, every hollow a sinkhole, every bluff an opening that leads somewhere uncharted. They know certain caves, the ones discovered and then shut, differ from those left exposed. The sealed ones are not discussed in public. They are spoken of at kitchen tables, in hunting blinds, at family reunions after the older folks have had enough whiskey to repeat what their fathers passed down. These stories are remarkably consistent across unrelated families. A farmer finds an opening. He descends. He returns transformed. Someone arrives and closes the entrance. The Hollis tale is one among dozens. It simply preserves the most detail. The surviving version comes through Hollis's brother's grandson, who shared it with a regional folklore collector in the early 1990s. The collector taped the conversation and later incorporated a summary into a privately circulated manuscript on Ozark oral traditions. The manuscript was never commercially published. The account is precise. Hollis told his brother that after lowering himself through the pasture crack, dropped about 15 feet into a natural limestone chamber, roughly barn-sized. The chamber itself was unexceptional. Standard cave limestone walls, clay floor, odor of wet rock. But at the far end, where the limestone should have continued, there was an opening. Not a crack, not a natural passage. An opening with straight edges. Hollis said the edges were too straight to be natural. He claimed the walls beyond were not stone, smooth, uniformly dark grey without variation. They were warm to the touch, which in a cave that stays at a constant 56 every year round is profoundly wrong. The floor beyond was flat and level, unlike the uneven natural surface, a floor as if poured or laid. Additional openings lined the walls of this second space, each with the same straight edges, each leading deeper into darkness. He entered none. He said the air felt strange, heavier, charged, the atmosphere before a storm, and he noted a sound, not loud, mechanical, something low and constant that he felt in his chest rather than heard with his ears. He turned and climbed out. His brother asked why he hadn't gone further. Hollis replied that he didn't know what it was, and that a man with only a kerosene lamp wasn't meant to find out. 2 weeks later, the army appeared. Hollis never spoke of it again. Not to his wife, not to his children, only to the brother who carried the tale forward. The question his family has asked for 3 generations isn't what Hollis found. They believe they know what he found, or at least what he described. The question is how the army knew to come. The Hollis cave isn't unique. Across the Ozarks, from Stone County to Boone County to Baxter County in Arkansas, from Shannon County to Oregon County in Missouri, oral histories recount the same pattern. A cave is found, someone enters, the entrance is sealed. The sealing isn't always military. In some accounts, men arrived in plain clothes but carried themselves like soldiers. In others, county officials appeared with work crews and poured concrete without explanation. One account from Newton County, Arkansas, tells of a farmer in the 1920s who found a cave containing what he described as metal objects embedded in the cave walls, not loose artifacts, things that seemed fused into the rock itself, as if the wall had been built around them. He showed the cave to 3 neighbors. Within a month, a crew arrived, removed every object they could reach, and dynamited the entrance shut. The farmer was told the cave held a gas seep and was dangerous to livestock. Gas seeps do exist in the Ozarks. Hydrogen sulfide accumulates in poorly ventilated caves and can be lethal. This explanation satisfies most who hear the stories because it's plausible and because questioning it requires believing the U.S. government sealed caves across rural Arkansas for reasons beyond public safety, but the gas seep explanation has flaws. A gas seep can be ventilated. It can be posted with warnings. It doesn't require reinforced concrete or dynamite. It doesn't require men in military uniforms driving 6 hours to a Stone County farm. And it doesn't explain why, in every account, the farmer was instructed not to discuss what he saw. Gas is dangerous. Secrecy isn't a treatment for gas. It's a treatment for information. The detail connecting the Hollis case to other sealed cave stories is the material. Multiple oral histories from unrelated families in different counties describe the same thing: walls that are not stone, not brick, not concrete, plaster, nothing the entrant could name. The descriptions share distinct traits: smooth like glass or polished metal, uniform in color, usually dark gray, without the irregularity of natural stone, warm, which in a 56-degree cave means the material generates or conducts heat from an unknown source, and seamless, no joints, no mortar lines, one continuous surface from floor to ceiling. Some accounts mention a faint sheen, not reflective like metal, matte like stone. These descriptions come from farmers, hunters, and laborers, men with no background in materials science, no familiarity with advanced construction, and no reason to invent stories about underground walls made of an unidentifiable substance. Consistency across unrelated sources spanning decades and multiple counties is the strongest evidence that whatever these people encountered beneath the Ozarks was real and genuinely outside their frame of reference. Mainstream geology attributes these accounts to misidentified flowstone, a natural mineral deposit formed when water-carrying dissolved calcium flows over cave surfaces, a smooth, often glossy coating. Flowstone can appear manufactured, it can feel smooth, it can be uniform in color, but flowstone is cold, matches the cave's temperature. It doesn't generate heat. and it doesn't form straight edges or level floors. The Ozark descriptions don't match flowstone, match something without a geological name. Why would the US military seal caves in rural Arkansas in the early 1900s? The conventional answer is that they wouldn't. Documented federal program exists for sealing private land caves in the Ozarks during that period. No military orders, no appropriations, no paper trail. Yet the oral histories are specific about the uniforms, vehicles, and conduct of the men who arrived. Multiple accounts describe olive drab uniforms consistent with the US Army from the 1900s through the 1940s. Several mention military-style trucks. One notes a canvas-covered vehicle with government plates. The men didn't ask permission. They informed landowners of what would happen. They carried themselves with an authority the farmers, most of whom had never dealt with the federal government, didn't question. There is one documented parallel. 1940s, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers surveyed Ozark caves as potential storage sites for military equipment and possible fallout shelters during the early Cold War. Several were acquired, modified, and sealed for military use, the most famous being the underground facility near Ava, Missouri, used for ammunition storage. These are documented, not secret, but they date to the 1940s, 30 years after the Hollis incident. If the military was sealing caves in 1909, wasn't part of any known program. It was either an unauthorized action by local military personnel acting on their own initiative, or part of a program that has left no paper trail in any archive researchers have been able to access. Either possibility is troubling. Unofficial military action on private land without documentation is illegal. An official program with no paper trail is, by definition, classified. Classified operations in rural Arkansas in 1909 raise a question far beyond caves. What was the government looking for underground before anyone else knew there was something to find? The Ozark accounts are one cluster in a pattern extending across the American interior. In Appalachia, similar sequences. Caves found, entered, sealed. In Kentucky, cave sections blocked with concrete by unknown parties. In Tennessee, the Army Corps sealed caves during dam projects. Locals reported features beyond natural formations. In Pennsylvania, mining companies sealed tunnels that broke into caves with finished walls. The thread is always the same: natural cave, unexpected transition to non-natural features, smooth walls, level floors, warmth, closure by authority figures who offer no explanation. The Tartaria community interprets these as evidence of pre-existing underground infrastructure. Mainstream geology calls them folklore. Both face the same problem: neither can be verified because the evidence is sealed. The caves are closed. The concrete is in place. Whatever lies inside, no living person has seen it. The Hollis farm still exists. The pasture where the bull broke through is still there. Concrete seal, if it survived, would now lie beneath topsoil accumulated over more than a century. The current owners, not the Hollis family, since the property changed hands twice after the 1930s, are, according to the folklore collector who documented the account, unaware of the cave. They don't know that beneath their pasture, under a slab of reinforced concrete poured in 1909, there's an opening a farmer entered and a government sealed. Across the Ozarks, similar situations persist: caves sealed on farms that have since changed ownership, entrances now beneath barns, fences, county roads, decades of settled earth. The concrete and dynamite did their work. The openings are closed, but the caves themselves haven't disappeared. Limestone doesn't stop dissolving because someone poured concrete over a hole. Water continues flowing through the rock, widening passages, opening new connections, shifting the underground landscape. Every year, the Ozarks produce new sinkholes, new cave entrances, new collapses that reveal what was hidden. The cave beneath the Hollis pasture is still there, still connected to the larger karst system. And the smooth walls, level floors, straight-edged openings, material that was warm when it should have been cold, all of it remains in the dark behind a slab of steel, reinforced concrete that a farmer's son couldn't break in 1947. The limestone will open it eventually. It always does. The only question is whether anyone will be watching when it happens. 10,000 caves beneath the Ozarks, maybe more. Most are open, some are sealed. The open ones are tourist attractions, state parks, geological curiosities. The sealed ones are stories told at kitchen tables after the whiskey comes out, passed from father to son, from brother to nephew, from one generation to the next without ever being written down, until a folklore collector showed up with a tape recorder decades too late. A farmer named Hollis lowered himself into a hole in his pasture in 1909 and came back up white as chalk. He told his brother what he saw. His brother told his children. The army came 2 weeks later and poured reinforced concrete over the entrance. His son tried to break through it in 1947 and failed. The cave is still there. The concrete is still there. The material Hollis described, smooth, warm, seamless, dark grey with straight edges and level floors where none of those things should exist, is still there. No living person has seen it, with authority has looked. 10,000 caves. Some hold nothing but limestone water and bats, but at least one, beneath a pasture in Stone County, Arkansas, held something that made a farmer go silent and made the United States Army drive 6 hours to pour concrete over a hole in the ground. Subscribe if you want more of this. The next investigation goes beneath the longest cave system on Earth. A slave crossed a bottomless pit alone in 1838. What he found on the other side was not a cave, and the mummies there had been carried 20 miles into total darkness by people nobody can name.